good evening, everyone. Um, so, to the people who are new to Sci-Chronicles, here's a brief introduction on what we are and what we do. So, Sci-Chronicles is completely a community forum where we engage people from different parts of the country and we organize sessions on various facts and topics. Basically, it is science for everyone. So, in order to take scientific facts to everyone, not only for the people from science background, also for the common people, we organize different webinars. So, this is a short brief about who we are and what we do. So, with this brief introduction, now I want to introduce the speaker for today's session, uh, Ms. Shriya Rai. Welcome.
Thank you.
Shriya is the founder of the Sashakt Bharat initiative and a National Geographic Young Explorer. She works towards making sustainability an integral part of the policy and education milieu through academic research, policy advocacy, and leadership interventions. She is a Department of State United States alumni and has represented India on multiple international forums, including the Indo-Pacific uh, Youth Summit organized by Government of Japan and the Regional Dialogue on Youth Empowerment by UNDP Bangkok and UNICEF East Asia. The basis of her initiative is to create a community of informed, engaged, and committed young individuals who can confront climate change challenges and find sustainable solutions for their community. The Sashakt Bharat program is nurturing young sustainable leaders in 18 to 25 years from diverse education and experiential background through engagement with regional sustainability concerns in partnership with stakeholders involved in environmental policymaking. She has trained over 1,500 young sustainable leaders across the country and has integrated an incubation model to support youth-led sustainability projects from different parts of the country. Through her work and vision, she hopes to create a pan-India sustainability network of community, connected, engaged, and inspired youth sustainability leaders. So the session is over to Shreya.
First of all, good evening. And I understand that we were supposed to do this session a couple of days ago, but there was just some chaos at my place because of COVID, and I couldn't make it to the session. To my apologies. First of all, I want to keep this session extremely interactive. So I will request you that if some of you can please switch on your cameras, or if you can, constantly interact with me, that will be great, because I need to understand how, the information or conversation today is being processed by all of you. And before I start, I'd like to understand that what is it that you're interested in listening to? Because, we had mentioned a couple of things about India's climate policy. We mentioned about, building this vision for a sustainable future in the country. So I am interested in knowing that what interests you guys, and I would like to keep the conversation in that direction. So if you can either use the chat box or unmute yourselves and just tell me what is it that what about this session interested you, and what would you like to hear about? Hi, good evening. Yeah, please use the chat box if you're not comfortable in unmuting yourself. I just need to understand that what is it that you want to talk about today, or where are you coming from? Where are you joining us from? I just need to get a sense of the crowd. Okay, great. So I will just quickly talk about what is it that I do. What is Sashakt Bharat? Why did I feel the need for creating a platform such as this one? So just to give you a quick background about who I am and what is it that I do. I graduated from Lady Shriya Rai College in Delhi University, and I studied political science. And when I was pursuing my degree, I was very interested in policy making, in governance related issues. And I just felt the need of creating a platform through which young people in the country could be supported, and initiatives, that young people had launched could get a platform of their own. And when I was in my final year, I had the opportunity to, represent India in this platform called the SUSI Program on Global Environmental Issues. And as a part of the program, we were, in conversation. And so, as I was saying, as a part of the SUSI Program on Global Environmental Issues, I had the opportunity to sort of understand India's environmental concerns in a global perspective, and also get a chance to understand best practices of other nations and what their climate policy was like. One thing that stood out in the US program for me was the fact that there was a lot of community action on ground to supplement, if I can say so, what the climate policy of the United States was. So we met a lot of community engagement groups. We met a lot of NGOs. We met a lot of youth-led, groups who were trying to change this narrative of, making sustainability a part of daily discourse and making sustainability a youth led affair. So that is something that stuck with me. And I went with a team of three other people, and the four of us decided to start a project here in India based on our learnings of, the SUSI program. And we wanted to call this Sashakt Bharat, and the name literally means Empowered India. Why we wanted to call it Empowered India is our model was very simple. We wanted to, sort of conduct regional sustainability conferences in the country. And this idea intrigued a lot of people, and they were like, why regional sustainability, right? That is primarily because of two reasons. The first is all of you understand that India is such a diverse nation. And with the kind of diversity that we have, it also means that in terms of sustainability, there are very diverse concerns. So our plan really was to engage young people exactly where they are, and create this whole network of sustainability leaders from different parts of the country, and support them, in their mission of creating a climate resilient society. So, which is why Sashakt Bharat started out as a regional sustainability model. We did a conference in Coimbatore, Chennai, Mumbai, Hyderabad. And after that, we did a national conference where everybody who was trained in all of these small regional conferences, they were given an opportunity to apply for the national conference. And the national conference was a 3-day intensive affair, where we had invited all policy makers, business leaders, NGO experts. Because if you look at sustainability, another reason why we wanted to do, a collaborative regional workshop as such is because, sustainability as such falls into this class of wicked problems. Why is it called wicked? It's because sustainability is very open ended. It is very conflict driven. It is very dynamic in its nature, which also means that there are multiple people and multiple associations and multiple values of individuals who work towards making the climate policy in the country and elsewhere. So, what that means is that when there are these competing interests at play, then how do you bring all of these people together? For instance, I don't know if you guys have been following the Thoothukudi issue, right? Or the Starlight plant issue. If you look at the whole issue, it's a very complicated web of concerns, right? There is the Madras High Court, there is the state government, there is the Starlight plant, of course, there is the national government, and all of these are consistently trying to create. No, there's some in terms of policy making. There's a lot of give and take that is happening about what should be done. And if you are familiar with the case, you would have understood that there are a lot of local people, and tribes. But as I was saying, that in terms of the Thoothukudi issue, I think it's a very good example to look at what climate policy in the country means, right? Because there's a lot of give and take that's happening. The Supreme Court very recently said that, there's no need to involve local communities. But the question then to ask is that, aren't the local communities the one who are bearing the brunt of the government's climate policy? So in that case, how can they be kept out of policy making or governance related issues as such, right? So the reason we wanted to sort of look at collaborative conferences is primarily this, that we wanted to hear from all of these representatives and all of these stakeholders who are involved in environmental policy making in the country. So as such, it's not just the Ministry of Environment, it's not just certain business leaders. There is significant work that is happening on ground through local NGOs, through local activists, and through young climate champions. And we felt that there was no network as such in the country that would connect and bring all of these people together. So we thought that Sashakt Bharat would be one such network through which we could, get people in the country together to think about, to reflect upon issues that are important to them, environmental concerns in their own regions, and not just limit themselves to conversations. So what we are doing now is that we are supporting young people who have, ideas regarding entrepreneurship projects that they would want to launch of their own. For example, there is a team that is working on water harvesting. There is a team that is working on solar technologies. And these are very small scale projects with the idea that if they get funding, they can be supported. But the idea really is to not keep, our concerns about the environment, about community engagement, limited to just dialogue, but also sort of take action and create this efficient model through which we can support young people and their solutions. And with that, I think if you can just again use the chat box and just respond, what are you guys thinking? Does this make sense? Am I just blabbering? I just need feedback to understand that, you guys are here with me and you're listening to what is it that I'm presenting today. As I said that, this is a very informal conversation. So let's please do not worry about how you're going to be perceived. If you have questions, you can go ahead and ask me and I will try to answer those, as we progress today. Okay, great. So how familiar are all of you with, I also don't have a sense of, what is it that you guys are studying? I understand that somebody here is studying MSc Botany, but what backgrounds are you from? That is also something that I'm not familiar with. Because I just wanted to take you through what India's climate policy is going to be like and what are our priorities right now and what is the government of India doing, if that is something all of you are interested in. So anyway, I'll go ahead and proceed with it. So, as a major issue, climate change is going to have like a significant impact on India's external negotiations and also domestic bargains. And it because the kind of challenges, as I said, it's a wicked sort of problem, climate change, and responding to it will involve sort of restructuring our economies, our ways of life, mobilizing new technologies, creating innovative systems of finance, or even new political arrangement and institutions. And sustainability, the word is now used so much, right from sustainable fashion to sustainable food system, agriculture. Everywhere there is a way that this word has been sort of adapted by individuals and organizations. But is this something new to us? Is something that we need to ask. For example, if you look at our own ancient religious literature, the Vedas, Upanishads, Smritis, and Dharmas, they have preached a worshipful attitude towards earth, sky, water, plants, and there is this conceptualization of how you can live in harmony with nature. Even when our constitution was being made, there is significant impact of respecting life that is not human. And if you look at the 42nd constitutional amendment, the 48A directive principle, all of these policies have been integrated to talk about how, as individuals, we should endeavor towards protecting and improving the environment and safeguarding not just the forests and wildlife, but all kinds of life that are not human, and also protecting the human relationship with the natural, sort of surrounding. So if you look at what India's trajectory has been in terms of, I'm pretty sure you guys are familiar with the Paris Agreement, the Rio conferences, and all of that. But why is the Paris Agreement important? And I think as young people, we should familiarize ourselves with, what is India signing and what India's commitments are. So the Paris Agreement, it's an agreement of 2016, and it includes a couple of things. And I just want to quickly take you over the pointers. There is this idea of reducing emissions intensity of the GDP by 33 to 35% by the year 2030. and we're already in 2021. There is also the policy of increasing the share of non-fossil fuel-based energy sources to 40% of an electric power capacity increase by 2030, with the sort of transfer of technology and low-cost international finance. And there is also the idea of creating an additional carbon sink of 2.5 to 3, through additional forests and tree cover by 2030. I just wanted to quickly talk about the National Action Plan on Climate Change and the State Action Plan on Climate Change. Basically, this is focused on promoting understanding of climate change and establishing the linkage between adaptation and mitigation. So the it's not just the government of India that is creating policies now. They are also encouraging states and union territories to take it upon themselves to create state action plans. So that in that sense, climate policy in the country can be decentralized and representative. And also, we have the National Adaptation Fund on Climate Change, which was launched in the year 2050. There is an outlay of rupees 350 crore. It's not just for projects, but also is focused on creating, workshops, awareness, information, dissemination, research, and development. The reason I'm mentioning all of this is because if you guys are interested in sustainability, there's a lot of opportunities that are opening up, not just in terms of, when we talk about sustainability, people only think about either tech solutions, or there are certain kind of individuals who look at sustainability solutions, and that is not so. Sustainability demands that the kind of specialization that you're coming in with, for example, if you're studying chemistry, if you're studying botany, I come from political science, there are answers in all of our disciplines, and there are answers in everything that we study and everything that we know. And I just don't mean it in terms of our academic disciplines, the communities that we come from, the indigenous knowledge all of us have. All of these are very important concerns when it comes to dealing with sustainability. And I understand that, the way our knowledge economy is structured, all of these things are not taken seriously. But if we have to make sustainability a personal concern, if we have to make sure that sustainability is youth driven, we have to find our resonance with it. So, whether it's through academic research, whether it's through working with NGOs, whether it's collaborating with the government, wherever you find an opportunity to create a solution, to take up a role, to take up a leadership opportunity, I think you should go for it. Because, as I said, it is a very diverse problem. It needs all hands, it needs all kinds of specializations. And therefore, it is very, very important to be aware of what is going on in the country regarding India's sustainability priorities and what can be done. Right? So, I'm pretty sure, a lot of young people tell me that, it's not very easy to understand what India's, let's say, coal policy is, or when we say green technology, what do we mean and how does it impact us? So I think informing, educating ourselves is extremely important because, this is going to be the transition into the future. The next 10 years is going to be very crucial for how we place ourselves as a country and what are the choices that we are going to make. Even with the COVID crisis, I'm pretty sure you guys have realized that, of course, this was an unprecedented crisis, but there are very specific people in the country who are getting impacted. Yes, this crisis has impacted all of us, in a very brutal fashion. But there are some who always have access to, let's say, hospitals or oxygen cylinders or everything necessary to save their loved ones. And there are others who don't get access to any of these opportunities. And the same thing also happens when it comes to environment. The same thing also happens when it comes to sustainability. So creating inclusive, representative policy, government spaces, creating community action, taking community action, realizing what is important for your community, whether it's water, energy access, whether it's mining, whatever it is. How is it impacting your community and what can you do to be part of the solution are very important questions that as young people, we should be asking. So when we're talking about India's climate action plan for 2030, give me about 5 to 7 minutes and then I'll take questions. So the action plan is essentially called Intended Nationally Determined Contributions, or INDCs. So I hope the next time you see this term, it sounds familiar to you. It's basically built around three elements, which is we want to reduce our emissions, we want to increase our forest cover, and we want a greater role for renewable energy in power generation. So India has also said, as I said, that we want to build an additional carbon sink. Also we want to increase the share of non-fossil fuel energy in power generation. So, it therefore falls on the whole climate action policy of India falls and, getting our emissions down, especially for a developing economy. It falls on, creating new energy sources or utilizing or harnessing energy sources like solar, wind, and biomass, which is going to be the future of what energy access in the country looks like. I just wanted to quickly touch upon a couple of important debates, that I think all of us should be familiar with in terms of, what our priorities as a country look like. So I'm pretty sure all of you have heard about this global South and global North debate, right? And what Indian environmentalists argue, and if you look at all sorts of climate literature in the country, it essentially views climate change as a problem of the global north, which is developed countries like the US, UK, France, and all of these individuals. And the argument that Indian environmentalists give is that it is because of consumerism and industrialization from their end that we are facing the brunt of climate change. So basically, the argument is that, as a developing country, of course, there are going to be priorities in terms of how we can develop our economy, how we can develop our industry, how do we get people into more jobs. And if you understand how the economy works, there are certain core industries. So, for example, let's say transportation, manufacturing. A lot of these are very resource intensive industries, but also they get the maximum jobs for our economy. So, what Indian environmentalists are arguing is that this is the time for the Indian growth. So, we want to invest in manufacturing. We want to build our country. We want to, employ new ways of industrializing the whole country. And now, developed countries are making us sign agreements that say that we need to reduce our emissions. So, how is that fair? And how will we develop? And then we are in this web where the developed always stay developed, and we are exactly where we are because we are being forced to sign international agreements. So that is the first debate. The second thing is climate imperialism with regard to other issues. So Indian environmentalists also argue, and people, this is a generic concern. People say that in a country like India, there are concerns of poverty, there are health related concerns, there is gender justice. All of these are such important issues. I mean, who has the time to talk about climate change in the country? It is just an elite and privileged conversation. I think to that, and I will definitely involve you guys if you have other opinions. That argument is really fair, and it's not a misplaced argument. But also, poverty, gender justice, access to food, all of these things are not absolutely divorced from the idea of sustainability. Because if you look at what sustainability is, it is really creating an equitable framework for utilization of resources. And I think this is a generic definition, right? But the idea, the principle behind that really is that resources should be distributed in an equitable fashion, not just for this generation, but also for the generations that are going to be coming in, right? So all of these concerns, all of our social justice issues cannot be divorced from what sustainability is. And I think that is something that we need to reflect upon. So climate change as such is not divorced from poverty. Climate change is not divorced from just gender justice. These are very important concerns. And if you look at certain papers, you will realize that in India, women and indigenous communities are the ones that bear the brunt of climate change policies and are essentially the most disadvantaged when it comes to dealing with climate change. So this is and if I just have to give you an example, there is an Indian environmentalist that has written a very interesting paper, and he argues that and he gives this example that, for example, the woman of the house is supposed to collect water, right? So let's say, the water source is like 500 meters away. So she has to walk that amount to get the water for the household. Then it's 1 kilometer away. and she has to go collect firewood and water and everything. Then you move it further away, and then she has to walk 5 kilometers. Then she has to walk 10 kilometers. Of course, it is going to have an impact on her health, but the amount of resource that she can carry back to her house will also change. The way that resource is going to be distributed in a family is also going to be problematic. And of course, there is this realization that it is going to fall on the woman to consistently collect those resources for the household and then distribute it in a fashion where she does not get most of those resources. So I hope you get the idea that I'm presenting, that it's not such a clear-cut picture that climate change is only being discussed at international forums. These are very immediate concerns that need to be taken into consideration, which is why I'm saying that as young people, it is extremely important to understand what are the repercussions of policies in the country. How is it impacting my community? How is it impacting my family? These questions should come to your mind when you read about a policy, and that will make it much more relatable. And also, like, India's climate policy on global forums really is that we will not discuss climate change concerns, or we will not discuss goals till the time it is not based in an equitable framework. So what they're basically arguing and saying is that, okay, if you want to talk about, getting our emissions down, you tell us what is it that you're promising. And as developed countries, because you have attained significant development, what are you going to do for the developing and underdeveloped countries of this world? So a lot is also being done. If you'll follow the COP meetings that happen, or NGOs like WWF, Greenpeace, and all of this is basically an intervention into helping developing and underdeveloped countries create a framework for climate justice in their own countries. So a lot of these international organizations, UNDP, UNEP, all of these people are working towards engaging not just sustainability concerns in the country, but young people like yourselves who can become part of the solution. So, which is why I'm saying that it's important for us to realize where the opportunities are, who is giving us the opportunities. And I think the kind of education system that we are in, we get caught up in this very, fixed idea of what solutions can be or what we can do in our lives. I suggest, as an individual who's working with a lot of young people now, that please push yourselves, please reconsider what your role in your community and your society can be. Because the future really depends on what our generation does and the kind of society and the kind of country we leave behind. And already, I think we are living through very tough times, and we understand that, what are the challenges in this country very, very well. So I think this is the time to be part of the country's solution. And please familiarize yourselves with what is going on. And I just wanted to very quickly talk about what is it that we're doing with Sashakt Bharat now. I also suggest you look at the Instagram page of Sashakt Bharat, because we consistently organize webinars, Instagram lives on different topics, right from, all kinds of sustainability conversations that can be integrated from food, fashion, access, justice. And we get experts, not just, and because this is in collaboration with National Geographic, so also from the American Center, from the US Embassy, and we're looking at other partners in the country as well. And we invite them for conversations. So it will be a good place for you to start your sustainability journey. That is one. The other thing is that if you want to be directly associated with what we are doing, because when things settle down, we will be organizing a couple of conferences. We want to start out in Chennai, and then look at Shillong, Gujarat, etc. So if you think that you want to be part of what we're doing, then please do reach out. And thirdly, I think now is the time when you can ask questions. Please do not hesitate. Whatever questions I can answer about what is it that I do, what have I presented today, why did I feel the need of saying all of this, I would love to answer those questions. So please go ahead, and I hope the team at Sci-Chronicle, if you guys have any questions, you can feel free to ask as well. I hope this conversation was helpful, at least some parts of it.
Shriya, for this amazing eye-opener speech. And the session is to the participants, open to the participants. You can ask your queries and questions.
Please feel free to unmute yourself and ask directly also. You don't need to write it down. In the meantime, I also want to leave you with my email address in case you want to connect. And this is what my initiator was called. So you can check out our Instagram page. Am I to assume there are no questions? This is still a group of 23 young people, I'm assuming. There must be some questions. I see a couple of people. I'm just going to cold call people now. Visumati, Sharon. Any questions at all? At least the ladies on the call. Okay, I really don't see any questions.
So I think there's no questions. So really a great session. Thank you, Shreya, for spending your time. And in spite of a lot of chaos, you have given your time for us. Thanks for this. And
Thank you. Thank you. So even if there are any follow-up questions that you have, if you want to connect, if there's something that I can help out with, please feel free to reach out. And I wish all of you the very, very best with whatever it is that you're doing currently. And please stay safe. I hope you and your family stay very safe. Thank you to the team, Harini, for organizing this. And what a privilege. Yeah, I think we can wind it up now. There is nothing else.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. So the mail ID of Shriya is in the chat box, so you can text her or contact her via mail and ask your queries and follow-ups to her in future, if any. So thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.